Louis Martin.
Louis.
Mr. Martin.
Please state your name for the record.
Louis Martin.
What is your occupation?
I'm a certified EMT.
What happened on October 28, 2008 at 11 a.m.?
I was at work and I got a call stating that there was a man that was shot at a playground.
What did you observe when you got to the scene?
I observed a man lying on the floor and a woman standing over him giving him CPR.
Do you see that woman in his courtroom today?
Yes, she's right over there.
Let the record reflect the witness identified the defendant, Dr. Barakova. Okay. What was the defendant, Dr. Barakova, doing?
She was crying, hyperventilating. She was complaining of nausea, and she clearly looked like she needed oxygen.
What did you do when you saw the defendant performing CPR?
Well, I told her to go to the hospital. She needed to go to the hospital, but she insisted on trying to help this man that was on the floor.
What did Dr. Barakova say to you, if anything?
She said that she was a doctor, and I tried to shoo her away from the victim, but she wanted to help.
Please describe the defendant's demeanor and appearance.
Well, she was clearly in shock. As I said, she was crying and hyperventilating. She said she was nauseous and she needed oxygen.
What did you tell the defendant, if anything?
What did I tell her?
What did you tell Dr. Barakova on that day?
I told her that she needed to go to the hospital to check something.
Have you received any awards for helping people through EMT?
Yes, in 2008, I received the Pre-Hospital Save Award.
Thank you.
Okay, go on.
When you arrived on the crime scene, Barakova was performing CPR, right?
Yes.
Did you knew her already at that time?
No.
So you didn't know she was a doctor?
Not at the moment.
So you let a stranger perform CPR in front of you when you were the one called for that?
Objection?
Not immediately.
You described Barakova as crying and panicky, hyperventilating, right?
Yes.
So she was in a state of shock?
Yes.
Is a CPR from a hyperventilating person in shock as efficient as one from an EMT?
No.
For how long was she in that stage of shock?
Well, it wasn't immediate. It pretty much started, I saw her hyperventilating a little bit like after I got there. So she was clearly distraught, but she seemed to know what she was doing.
And you would say she was traumatized at that time?
No.
Or just a state of shock?
She was in a state of shock.
Is it possible that she faked the CPR?
No.
No further question. Thank you very much.
To your knowledge, did Dr. Barakova perform the CPR correctly?
Yeah.
You perform. Do you know what is intubation?
It's when you help a victim breathe, so you basically shove a tube down their throat and help them breathe if they can't do it themselves.
Was Dr. Barakova doing that to the victim?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Please, brief one.
No, you're on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Defense, with it.
We call Igor Davidson instead.
Okay.
I'd like to start out by saying you look great for a man in his 50s. Mr. Davidson, what is your profession?
I'm a psychologist.
And how long have you been a psychologist?
Several years.
All right. And how long have you been treating Michelle?
A year. About a year.
And when Michelle first visited you, what was her mental condition?
What was I treating her for?
Sure. What were you treating her for?
I was treating her for trauma of witnessing domestic violence.
All right. And through these sessions, you did conduct sessions with Michelle, yes?
Yes.
And how did Michelle feel about her father?
She was scared of him. And like had fear.
And could you elaborate on the relationship between Michelle and her father any further?
She didn't enjoy time with her father. She was just scared of him, very fearful.
Okay. And why did Michelle fear her father? Do you know?
Well, she saw her dad hit her mom.
And are you aware if she feared men in general?
Yeah, she did. She had an annoying fear for all men.
And why did she fear men as a whole?
Probably because she saw her dad hit her mother.
Okay. No further questions.
Good afternoon. From your experience, what age does a child need to reach to actually understand and realize what they are doing or what has been done to them?
Objection? Guns go.
I don't know if you do understand.
I have a point here.
I'm sure you do. Do you understand the question?
It's just me like how old the child's age. Excuse me for this.
Sorry?
Before the question.
How old does a child need to be to actually realize and understand what they are doing or what has been done to them?
Oh yeah, okay,
7 years old?
Yeah.
Can you tell the court at what age was Michelle when you first started treating her?
She was 3, maybe?
Has there been any drastic change in Michelle's attitude towards her dad throughout the time you were treating her?
I don't know. Like, can you rephrase it just like, what do you mean? Like, has she changed? She was scared of her dad in the beginning, but through your treatment, she's been, like, and through supervisors with her mom and dad, she's been slowly getting better.
Can you describe slowly getting better?
Well, just, like, no.
All right. Has Michelle ever told you herself that her mother was abused?
She saw her mom hit her dad. I mean, her dad hit her mom.
But did
sorry.
she tell you, in her own words, saying that my dad hit my mom and therefore I am fearful of my dad? Did she say anything to you, herself, in her own words?
No, but I understand.
All right, thank you.
What happened.
Has Michelle ever told you herself that she's seen her mother being hit? Herself, her telling you.
Something that says that I saw, because the memory, that's why she's scared of her dad.
But did she tell you that I saw my dad being hit?
No.
Thank you. Has Michelle told you herself why she feared Ben?
No, but she does have an underlying fear of them, which could be from the fact that she saw.
All right, Mr. Davidson, you are a man, yes?
Yes.
Is Michelle afraid of you?
No, she trusts me.
So she's only scared of her dad.
Well, and other men.
Since-
I'm a
since she-
psychologist, so.
Let the witness finish.
Sorry.
I'm a psychologist. We have a different relationship than she would with a man she meets on the street.
But you testified just now that she fears men in general, all
Yeah,
men.
in general, but I'm a psychologist, so it's a little different.
So out of all the people, she's scared of only her dad
And strange
That of
men.
that you know of.
And random men.
Did she say that?
No, but
But that means you only know that she's only scared about her dad. But she's not scared of you.
because I've been treating her for a year.
But she's scared of her dad, yes?
Yes.
So one last question. Who was the person who told you that and gave you the information that Malikov, the dad, was abusing Michelle's mother?
Objection?
Well, I'll sustain it, but I think it's fair to ask this witness, how did she conclude
How did-
What is the situation? Well, who has the cast? How did you come to that conclusion?
Just from our therapy session, seeing the way she interacted with her dad, and that's how I concluded she had fear of men in general, and her father.
Did anyone else give you information about this?
Her mother.
Her mother, as in Mrs. Borakova?
Yeah.
Yes? Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Quick redirect. I just have a few questions. How old does a child need to be to fear?
I would say, just to be aware of their surroundings or to feel.
That sounds reasonable. Do you believe that Michelle knew right from wrong, based on
Yes.
your sessions? Do you believe that based on your training you can determine why Michelle fears her father?
Yes.
And
That'd be from seeing her dad abuse her mother, which
I have no further questions.
Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The defense calls up Mikhail Malayev.
that's nice.
That's you.
Yeah.
Can you state your name for the court?
Mikhail Malayev.
Have you ever owned a gun?
No.
Can you tell me about your previous experiences with guns?
I don't have any. I've seen them in movies. That's about it.
Can you tell me about any skill you have with guns?
I don't have any skills with guns.
Could you describe your shot accuracy?
0%.
Can you tell me about any previous military experiences?
I don't have any military experience.
No further questions.
Mr. Malayev, do you know the defendant, Miss Barakova?
Yes.
Can you show me the defendant?
What?
Can you show me the defendant?
Straight there in black.
Okay. What's your relationship with the defendant?
My cousin.
Okay. On May 14th, 2007, you met with a defendant, am I correct?
Yeah. Objection. This is beyond the scope of the direct examination.
I'll allow it.
Where did you meet?
I don't remember.
Shall I refresh your
Yes,
memory?
please.
You met in her office?
Yes.
Yes. Was there anyone else attending this meeting?
No.
Okay. After the meeting was over, you made a deposit of $20,000 into different bank accounts, am I correct?
Objection?
It's what? It's cross.
You have a sidebar?
You put the witness on.
This testimony is far beyond the scope of the direct examination.
It's cross-examination.
Right, but
Let's come over here.
So, after the meeting was over, you made a deposit of $20,000 in various bank accounts, am I correct?
yeah.
Okay. You didn't tell the truth to the police officer the first time you were interrogated, correct?
I don't know.
Well, when you were first interrogated by the NYPD, you claim you weren't in Queens at the time of the murder, am I correct?
I was at the Met with my wife. I was at the museum with my wife. But
The question was, did you tell the police?
I was in Queens?
Yes. That you weren't in Queens.
Yes.
And then after evidence was shown to you showing that your fingerprints are on the silencer, you admitted that you were in Queens at the time of the murder.
Yes.
So you admitted you were in Queens at the time of the murder.
Yes.
So you lied to the police officer at the beginning.
I want to say yes or no to that. So. Alright, yeah.
Okay. Is your testimony that you never touched the silencer introduced as Exhibit A? Can I have the Exhibit A? Is your testimony that you never touched the silencer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you touch any other silencers in your life?
I have no experience with guns or silencers.
Okay. I see you are never issued a gun permit in New York. Is that true?
What did you say?
You've never had a gun license in New York.
Yes.
You never.
That's true. That's never happened.
Are you aware that your fingerprints were found on the silencer?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions. Oh no. Can I go back?
That objection is overruled. Okay.
Okay. At your first meeting on May 14th with Ms. Barukova, you flew from Georgia to New York. Is that true?
Yes.
You stayed in New York just 4 hours. Is that true?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
In those 4 hours, you had time to deposit $20,000.
Yes.
On May 7th, after the crime, 10 days after the crime, you met again with the defendant. Is that true?
She's my cousin. So.
Okay. You called her on November 6th. Is that true?
Yes.
You met with her on November 7th in her office.
Yes.
After that, you deposited again $19,800. Is that true?
Yeah, but I don't, it's not really real. I mean, she's my cousin, being my cousin, and that one's the bank, so.
So you deposited?
But not from her, yeah.
Yes. The same amount of money almost, just $200 more than in May.
Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
Anything else? Next witness?
The defense calls on the defendant, Marie-Victoire Barakova.
Okay. Okay.
Your Honor, may I inquire? Thank you. Dr. Barakova, where were you born?
I was born in Uzbekistan in 1974.
And why did you come to the United States?
For the American dream and also the better medical programs.
And what is your profession?
I'm a physician.
And where did you attend your medical school?
I attended med school in the Soviet Union
Okay. And when did you become board certified in the United States?
in 2006.
And since then, which hospitals have you worked in?
I've worked in White Plains, North Shore, and Westchester.
And what is your medical specialty?
My specialty is internal medicine and surgery.
Okay, so you're an internist.
Mm-hmm.
And as an internist, what is within your medical purview?
Internal medicine is a medical specialty dealing with prevention, diagnosis, treatment of adult diseases.
And is cardiology or the study of the heart also within this purview?
Yes.
So now I'll direct your attention to the phone calls between you and Mikhail Malaya's cell phone in the days leading up to the October 28th incident in 2007. What were you talking about?
We talked about his wife's medical conditions and treatments, and also I'm their family physician, so I talk to them occasionally. We also talk about the wife's hypertension and the lab tests that we performed, as well as prescribing medicine for her.
Okay, so you acted on these calls by prescribing medicine.
Yes.
And what do you use as your office phone?
I use my cell phone.
And did you ever leave your cell phone with anyone else?
Yes, I left it occasionally with my secretary.
And specifically to these calls, how many calls between you and Mr. Malayev were under 1 minute?
26.
And how many calls were within 3 minutes of each other?
19.
Can you explain why so many calls were within 3 minutes of each other?
We had a decent amount to talk about.
Did the calls frequently drop, or?
Sometimes they did, yes.
Do you believe there's a set amount of phone calls or conversations one should have regarding their health?
As many as it takes.
So why did the call stop after your husband's death?
Well, after that sort of situation, not many people called me after that.
Was there any contact between you and Mr. Malayev in New York City?
Yes, I did cardiological checkups with the EKGs and did diagnosis of his heart problems.
So, since you gave him a routine cardiological checkup, why do his electrocardiograms or EKGs lack a timestamp and the patient's name?
Because I did not have a technician, and I did it solely because he's my cousin.
So why didn't you bring the technician in to do it?
I don't know.
Well, isn't it true that they're not insured?
Yes, that is very true.
All right. Now on a different topic, can you tell us about your husband's gambling habits?
He was a frequent gambler, yes.
And were there any substantial debts associated with these gambling habits?
Yes.
Do you know about how much was owed and to whom?
Maybe 20 grand.
And to whom was this owed?
To my cousin.
Which cousin is that?
My Malayev.
Were these debts paid off?
To my knowledge, yes.
Were there any withdrawals from your specific bank accounts?
Not that I know of.
Nothing of that stature, at least, right?
I don't think so.
So why are the details of these payments so unclear?
You got me.
Now, on the night of October 27th, 2007, what were you doing?
I started my 24-hour shift at White Plains at 8 p.m.
And when did the shift end?
It's supposed to end 8 p.m. the next day, but I left early at 8 a.m. and had someone else cover for the rest of the day because I got notice that Daniel wanted to meet.
Okay. And on the morning of October 28, 2007, the morning you finished your shift halfway through, what did you do?
I left, I changed my clothes, and then I went to the North Shore Hospital to check up on a couple of patients.
And about what time did you go to North Shore Hospital?
I believe it was around 8-ish.
Oh,
or 10:45. Or
may I refresh the witness's recollection of the events?
Please.
I understand it's been a couple of years, but hadn't you stated that you left for North Shore Hospital around 10:15?
That could have been it.
And what happened later that morning? Where did you meet your husband?
At Annandale Park.
And about what time did you arrive there?
10:45. That was 10:45.
And while you're at the playground, who were you with?
I was with my husband and my child, Michelle.
And what were the three of you doing?
We were playing, swinging, having fun.
You're having fun?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
I was very happy.
How do you think everyone else appeared?
Everyone else around me?
Your family members.
They seemed happy too.
What did you see next after your swinging?
I didn't really. After we were swinging, I just suddenly felt the weight of my daughter fall, and then I saw my husband, my ex-husband, I guess, fall to the ground with 2 shots and blood.
How did you know something was wrong at first, since you didn't hear the shots?
The weight. My daughter fell, and I turned around and realized that my husband wasn't holding her anymore.
Why didn't you react or move until you saw your husband on the ground? Were you just confused?
I was dazed, like I didn't know what was going on. I was too happy to even realize that things had changed.
What were you so focused on that you didn't hear the shots?
I was focused on my daughter.
And what did you do with your daughter immediately after you saw your husband lying on the ground?
I made sure she was okay, and then I took her to someone I knew in the park, and then I ran back to my husband, ex-husband.
And did you begin resuscitation?
Yes,
How were you attempting to do this?
through enumeration.
Excuse me?
I started to resuscitate him with CPR.
CPR. And you said intubation?
Yes.
Can you describe intubation?
Yes, it's an emergency procedure which requires inserting tube down the trachea to provide oxygen.
Okay. How would you describe your demeanor at this point?
I was very upset and scared. I was hyperventilating.
But intubation doesn't require you to breathe directly into the victim's mouth, so it didn't affect him, did it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Following this, did the EMT supply you with emergency oxygen for yourself?
Yes.
Now, did you believe that you were going to get joint custody of Michelle after trial?
Yes.
Did you have anything to do with your husband's death?
No.
I have no further questions.
Ross?
You got married to Danielle Malikoff in 2001, right?
Yes.
Then you got separated in 2003.
Yes.
Your husband, Danielle Malikoff, sued you for divorce, am I correct?
Yes.
Did this divorce make you angry?
It was upsetting, yes.
When was your daughter born?
She was born in 2005, I believe.
And when did Danielle Malikoff sue you for divorce?
Sometime before or after then.
On April 2007, your child legal guardian, Mr. Schmall, recommended that that your husband should be given unsupervised visitation with Michelle. You contested this, am I correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
On April 2007, your child's legal guardian, Mr. Schnall, recommended that your husband should be given unsupervised visitation with Michelle. You contested this, am I correct?
Yes.
On May 14th, 2007, the family court decision about the custody was still pending, right?
Yeah, I guess.
On that same day, you met with Michael Marie-Victoire, right?
I don't recall.
Did you record a microcassette with your conversation? It was that day.
In the car?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if I recorded it though.
Are you aware that Malie-Victoire deposited right after your meeting almost $20,000 in cash into accounts in different banks?
I'm not aware.
The next court date in your custody trial was on October 3rd, 2007, yes?
Sure.
A temporary order changed the custody of Michelle from you to Danielle, right?
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
That's upsetting. Losing your child.
This is 6 days before your husband's death, right?
I'm not counting, but sure.
You hired a professional videographer to film the transfer of custody, didn't you?
Between me and my ex-husband?
Yes.
Yes.
You wanted custody of your daughter, right?
I do want custody of my daughter.
Did you get it before he died?
I originally had it, but then he took it away.
Did this also read you sad?
Yes, it is very saddening.
Moving on. Between October 3rd and October 26th, a total of 91 calls were exchanged between you and the defendant, Mrs. Malie-Victoire, right?
Yes.
Do you usually call him that much?
He's my cousin.
This is a yes or no question, please.
Yes.
On November 7th, were you called by Mr. Maliev?
Yes.
After that call, you met with him, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that after that meeting, again, he another time made a deposit of $19,800 in cash into different accounts?
I was and am not aware.
Now, going back to the day where your husband was killed. You usually meet your husband in his office, correct?
Usually? I don't know.
Because on October 28th, you met your husband somewhere else, correct? Not in his office.
On that day, I did meet him at the park.
Is that the place where the crime occurred?
Yes.
Mrs. Would you kill for your daughter?
No.
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 You wouldn't kill to protect your own daughter?
Not if you incriminate me for it. Sorry. I'll judge you honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
You said you frequently have calls from Maliev since he is your cousin, right?
I'm sorry?
You said you frequently have calls from Marie-Victoire since he's your cousin.
Yes.
So why only one phone call after the murder?
Objection, asked and answered.
I don't think it was asked and answered, but
It was.
It was a question on direct.
just, I'll overrule the objection.
So why only one phone call after the murder?
Again, not many people wanted to talk to me after this whole ordeal.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Redirect, John?
Yep.
So, isn't the park, the Annandale Playground, near your husband's orthodontist office?
Sure.
Now, on a different topic, why did you record the phone conversation between you and Mr. Malayev in May?
Was that the conversation in the car?
That was the conversation in the car.
I don't know why I recorded it.
May I approach the witness room?
This is the appellate brief. It's just refreshing recollection.
What are you showing us?
I'm showing her the appellate brief for this case.
This is your own witness. I don't think you want to, impeach her, do you?
No, Your Honor.
What do
Just
you,
refreshing for recollection.
well, why don't you go back there and read it now and see if she remembers saying what you wanted to say.
Hadn't you previously testified that you recorded the conversation with Malayev in May to explain that she wanted to document your signing of the real estate contract?
Sure.
Again, no further questions.
Okay. All right.
Do you own a television?
Objection.
A what?
A television?
Television. TV.
I'll allow it. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Do you own a television?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen an action movie?
Yeah.
So you do know how a gunshot sounds like.
Rather frightening, I assume. Yeah.
But you claim that you didn't hear the gunshot on the day of the crime.
Objection.
it's already been stated. That's what she said. She didn't hear a gunshot.
But it's beyond the scope of the redirect.
It's all right. I'll allow it.
But you stated that you didn't hear the gunshot on the day of the crime.
Yes, I did.
You stated that you didn't.
Objection.
Let's move on. She did not hear the gunshot.
Okay. How can you explain that you didn't hear the gunshot when a woman who was walking her dog heard it?
I can't explain what happens when you're in shock.
You were in shock before you heard the gunshot.
When you're in shock, the sounds.
Are you aware that we found that a silencer was found on the crime scene?
What was found at the crime scene?
The silencer?
Am I aware? Well, yes, I'm aware. It was brought up.
After your husband was shot, you were upset, right?
Yeah.
You were in shock for 5 minutes?
I can't say how long.
Thank you, no further questions.
Alright, we finished with this one?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good.
Alright, there we go. Okay, we'll now move to summations. Do we need a couple minutes?
May I go use the
What do you want?
I want to go use the facilities.
Oh, sure. Okay. So we'll take just a couple minutes. Let
Need to turn.
everyone use the facilities and otherwise prepare for your summation.